This is an article titled, Israel and Christians, written by Brother Stanley, a building engineer turned Bible teacher from India. An armed conflict between Israel and Hamas-led Palestinian militant groups has been taking place in the Gaza Strip since the 7th of October 2023. It's now a year. Interpretations and predictions by preachers abound, but by and large Christians are confused. I write here what Bible-believing Christians are supposed to understand. God chose Israel as a nation and blessed them with abundant promises, Exodus 19:6. Today God chooses individuals from all nations and calls them as a holy nation, 1 Peter 2:9. It's no more a single nation but all the nations of the world. This drastic difference between the old dispensation and the new is to be borne in mind in all interpretations. The sermon text of Apostle Peter while addressing the family folks of the non-Jewish military commander, Cornelius, was, God shows no partiality. But in every nation whoever fears him and works righteousness is accepted by him, Acts 10:34 and 35. That's why Christ has commanded us to preach the gospel to all nations, Matthew 28:19, Mark 13:10, Luke 24:47. We are to show no difference whether Jew or Greek, Romans 10:12, Galatians 3:28, Colossians 3:11. The end will come when the gospel will be preached to all the nations, Matthew 24:14, Romans 16:26. The very Abrahamic blessing included all the nations, Genesis 18:18 and 22:18. The same was the promise to Isaac, in Genesis 26:4. We are looking forward to the day when the entire world would be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea, Habakkuk 2:14. We're looking forward to the return of the desire of all nations, and to join the glory gang from every nation for non-stop shouting of hallelujahs. Haggai 2:7, Revelation 5:9-14. With this background, let's see what we the Bible lovers are supposed to be doing. Number 1, pray for peace in all nations. Under the Old Covenant, David called the people to pray specifically for the peace of Jerusalem, Psalm 122:6. Now that the Prince of Peace has come, whose birth was announced by angels with the slogan, Peace on earth, we are to pray for all men so quietness and peace might be maintained in all the cities and towns and villages of the world, whether it's Jhansi in India or Jacksonville in America, Luke 2:13 and 14, 1 Timothy 2:1-4. God bless Israel, Iran, Ireland, India, Indonesia and all nations. A unilateral pro-Israel stand by Christians will make Hindus, Muslims and other religionists, especially in India, hostile towards the message of the gospel. Number 2, pray for those working among the Jews, explaining to them that Jesus is the Messiah who fulfilled all the prophecies of their Old Testament scriptures, just like Jesus explained to the Samaritan woman, John 4:25 and 26, Revelation 19:10. It was Paul's day and night prayers with an agonized soul that Israelites might be saved, Romans 9:1-5 and Romans 10:1-4. Jesus wept over Jerusalem, Luke 19:41. Ministry to the Jews is perhaps the hardest and the toughest. About them God told Isaiah, hearing they won't understand, seeing they won't perceive, Isaiah 6:9 and 10. Jesus quoted it while explaining why he spoke in parables, Matthew 13:10-15. The heart of Israelites on the whole is hardened until this day. Romans 11:25. But we must positively and expectantly look forward to the day when they would look to him whom they pierced, Zechariah 12:10. They must understand that only the one who is born of the Spirit is a real Jew, Romans 2:28 and 29. Racial pride is out. In the average churches also we have more Ishmaels than Isaacs. Most of our problems are due to this wild majority only, Galatians 4:28 and 29. Genesis 16:11 and 12. Number 3, help the war victims who are in tens of thousands in whatever way you can. So many innocent children and citizens are killed. Oh, how many have lost their parents, children, spouses, siblings and their near and dear. How many are maimed? Folks are running from their hometowns, leaving all their belongings and properties. Our hearts go to these unfortunate ones, most of whom suffer for no direct fault of theirs. It's like what was spoken by prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation, weeping and great mourning. Jeremiah 31:15, Matthew 2:17 and 18. Suffering is suffering whether he's a Jew or a non-Jew, Christian or non-Christian. We are to weep with those who weep. Romans 12:15. Support those agencies offering humanitarian help to the affected. Don't differentiate between Israelites or Arabs. If nations would imbibe the spirit of Abraham and Isaac, the world would be war-free. Genesis 13:7-12 and Genesis 26:18-22. Oh, for the day when the people would beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks, so nation shall not lift up sword against nations, neither shall they learn war any more. Micah 4:3. You may argue this can be expected only in millennium, and as Jesus foretold there would be only wars, Matthew 24:6 and 7. But would you silently be watching a war breaking out in India saying this is only a fulfillment of prophecy? Let the world continue to be a harvest field for sowing the word seed, instead of becoming a battlefield. Luke 8:11, Matthew 13:38. We cannot afford another world war. A few lines in conclusion. Unilaterally supporting Israel in thought, word or deed is unchristian. Is God the God of the Jews only? Is he not also the God of the non-Jews? Yes, of the non-Jews also. Romans 3:29. Don't blindly say that whatever Israel does is right. It was not always right in the Old Testament. It is not always right today as well. Calling it as a sinful nation and a rebellious nation, God has used several nations to chastise it. Isaiah 1:2-4, Ezekiel 2:3. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Proverbs 14:34. O Lord, do not grant the Jews their disastrous desire. Forgive them as your crucified Son and martyred servant prayed. Blot out their blood guilt for killing your prophets. Help them repent of their ignorance. Matthew 27:25, Luke 23:34, Acts 7:60, Luke 11:49-51, Acts 3:14-15 and 17, 1 Corinthians 2:8. I have a humble request to my preacher friends everywhere. Interpreting the prophecies of the future events is a difficult and delicate job. No two Bible commentators would see eye to eye in all matters. You don't need to agree with whatever I've written here. Fighting over these issues throws us into opposite camps, disrupting even the minimum peace we enjoy in Christendom, like the rapture issue which has ruptured our unity. What's more important than interpretations is making preparations for the future. Pray without ceasing, Luke 21:36. Live holy, Matthew 5:8. Be at peace with one another, Hebrews 12:14. Be known for your gentleness, Philippians 4:5. Bless the poor, Luke 14:12-14. Witness for Christ boldly, Mark 8:38. Maranatha. God bless you.